Hey y'all. So yeah, I am not my 100% most fabulous, but I'm always fabulous, so it doesn't matter. I was rage baited, but we transmuted into something that's going to work in my favor. But in it working in my favor, I really want to transmute it into something that will work in the favor of society and the community because I care about those things. You know, I feel like we get so caught up in the little issues and the circumstances and the problems that we see that's in front of us rather than highlighting what the big picture is and what the real problems are. I feel like things that we might even find issue with in our childhood or how we were brought up is really a generational, spiritual, systemic issue that stems back beyond generations. And we're not talking enough about that. We're too caught up in like the semantics and the nuances of how stories are being told or what stories are being told or who all is involved or what celebrity did this or what happened in this community here. But we're not talking about the systems and the structures that are perpetuating and creating these situations. That's the problem, and I know I've discussed this before. Um, But sometimes you have to say the same thing, I know, and if you can, like, guess what I'm going to say, then that proves the point that a lot of y'all already know what it is and just need to be doing better. And until we do, I'm going to keep saying the things that need to be said because not enough people are saying them. We're so caught up in these issues that are important and they need to be addressed, but what is the goal, though? Are we just bringing up issues to perpetuate negative energy for people to fuel off of? Or do we actually want to get to the bottom of these issues and create a solution and actually heal? That's the first thing. Like, what is the goal? Do y'all really care about the truth? Do you really care about your communities? Do you really care about the kids? Do you really care about the culture? Or do y'all just value and profit off of dysfunction? Because that's really what it gives. That's how I see it. And I feel like that's the root of the issue. It's like, okay, what are our goals here as a community? Because we know that there are people who probably want better and want to do the work and want healing, but maybe our methods are different or maybe our process is different. But then we also have people that want to tear down our communities and create drama and create trauma and create these issues because it financially benefits them. Whether it's like on reality TV or it's through the prison systems. I mean, there's so many ways that this can go, but the real thing is, what is our goal as a community? Are we trying to fix the problems or are we just trying to perpetuate and capitalize off the issues? What is it? With that understanding, you know, I I feel like when it comes to the surface level issues, like the things that might be a problem within our own current generation or our own lives, what's being what I feel is the root of misunderstanding is taking consideration of other people's experiences. I'm trying to be better about that. But the thing is, when you're already conditioned to believe what you believe and you're not open-minded to somebody else's perspectives, one, you're already kind of shut off to not even wanting to care what another person has to say. And then on top of that, when you already are listening or trying to consume what they say with this skewed lens, of course you're going to nitpick little things like, oh, how they tell their story and this and that. And don't get me wrong, like if something is offensive, then okay, let's address that. And and if I've ever done or said anything that was offensive, I apologize for that. But I should still have the right to be able to express myself and tell my story. And I want other people to be able to express themselves and tell their stories, long as we're doing it with the same goal in mind, which is to get to the root of the problem and actually create healing. But that's the most important thing. Like, what is your goal? Like, what is the point of bringing up problems if you're not going to try to solve them? Because that's always been my mentality. I've always been like that. Like, whether it was in at work, at school, my thing is like, all right, what's the solution? What's the end game? Because if we're going to just keep going on this whole loop of bringing up problems, but not actually doing the work, like I can't be the only one trying to do the work. We all have, like, if you're going to bring it up, then like, what's the point? And it's not, I'm not saying this in a way of trying to be like, um, you know, inconsiderate, but if your point is to create and profit off of dysfunction, then there's no reason for us to discuss and talk about these things. But if your point is to actually talk about the truth and provide healing and maybe understanding, and maybe we don't always get along or agree with certain things, but we can get to a point of having respect and providing safe spaces for each other, then let's talk about that. But if that's not the goal, if the goal is to continue kicking up drama just to perpetuate violence, then y'all could keep the drama. But nobody wants to get to the root of the problem to actually provide solutions that involves people's progressing in life and healing and evolving and moving forward. Y'all create issues and then try to justify unaliving folks, but don't want to do the work to heal. My thing is, there's already so many things that intentionally pit us against each other as a society, and it's frustrating when we do it to ourselves. And personally, for me, what's frustrating in a lot of situations is that a lot of times I show up in spaces with the intentions of showing love. Or I'm like, oh, I like this song, or I like this, what this person's doing. I like this content, this and that. And then there's always something that shifts to a negative. And then somehow, some way, my reaction is the thing that is criticized and attacked. But why aren't we talking about the time when I was showing love? Because that's always my goal and my frequency. It's like you're doing something positive for the community, or your project is dope, or whatever it is. If you're doing dope things, I'm always going to show love. I'm always going to highlight positivity. I'm always going to uplift and give people their flowers. I always have and I always do. But the thing is when people, it's the frustrating thing for me on a personal level is that showing love to people or places or organizations or institutions, and for whatever reason maybe they have more access to resources or information for longer periods of time, you know prior to these creations coming to life, and maybe they have a different mindset about certain things, but then when you show love, then they're like at this higher status, so they're like, oh no, let me you know, keep you down here and humble you because, you don't represent what we're trying to do based on the information that they have or resources that they have for decades. That's the issue within this society. And the thing is, again, it goes back to like, what is the goal? Is it that you're using your institution, your content, your, your advocacy to help actually prevent circumstances and situations and protect community? Or are you benefiting off the tragedies? Or are you benefiting off the dysfunction and then using that in the content or in the whatever it is that you're doing? Because, and then also, because let's be real here. We're in a day and age where it's very clear that people are into like ritualistic practices, lower vibrational ritualistic practices. And I'm not shaming and condemning rituals because there's positive rituals that you can do. There's rituals of healing and positivity and manifesting in good ways. But there's also very demonic things that happens in these spaces. And when has the devil ever cared about the kids? When has demonic forces ever cared about victims? When has demonic evil forces ever cared about justice? That don't go together. It doesn't make sense. And when we actually acknowledge that, then we realize these surface level issues that y'all be so caught up on, like the he said, she said this and did that, and actually acknowledge, like, okay, what is the root of this problem? Because when you get to the root of the problem, you realize a lot of these demonic systems that are put in place are what perpetuates and fuel these circumstances into happening. And then when you recognize that, those are the same systems that try to show up and portray themselves as if they're trying to be the ones to fight for and heal and, you know, save these people. But then you also get some awards too. Oh yeah, you elevate in your career as well. But make sure you're fighting for the kids. Even though these same demonic systems that reward these people are the ones perpetuating and creating these circumstances that happen that y'all are upset about. And y'all aren't catching on to that enough. And I feel like y'all know this, but that's not what y'all be talking about. Or some people want to talk about that, but they're too caught up in the system. And they realize the people around them are caught up in the system. In order to call the system out, you got to call out your allies or the person that you're in the movie with. Or to pass this bill, you got to get these votes. But to get those votes, you got to rub elbows with the devil. That's the real problem here. That's the real issue. And y'all aren't talking about that enough. Y'all be talking about the trivial things. Y'all talk about the surface level problems. And the surface level problems are important to discuss. But in order to talk about what's happening on the surface, you got to see what's under all of that. What is the root of the problem? What's creating and perpetuating these things, especially if it's happening for numerous times? Like we perpetually see this system that's enslaving people of color because our education system is lackluster. And so when kids aren't in school or in programs that's going to benefit or educate them or put them in activities that lean towards their interest, that show them possibilities more than just sports. And don't get me wrong, we love the sports, but if you have opportunities that allow kids to explore an interest in STEM, or maybe want to be an engineer, or want to be a marine biologist, or whatever, to even know that that's a possibility, but that's not available. So you have this school to prison pipeline, which is a perpetual loophole thanks to the 13th Amendment. So it's like, okay, what's really the root of that problem? That's the root of the problem, that law. And so we've seen how it's happened throughout history and how it's affecting our community. Who's perpetuating that today? Who's perpetuating that today? And then you get into recognizing that there's private prison corporations, people who are profiting off of prison systems. And not because of rehabilitation, not trying to create an avenue for these people to change their lives and enter back into society. There's people who profit off of people being in prison. Now, if you're not aware of that, welcome to the knowledge. But if you are aware of that, what are we doing about it? And don't get me wrong, there are people who maybe have access to these programs and, maybe stumbled in their life or made mistakes and then ended up in the prison system, or, maybe they, you know, still commit crime or whatever. There are probably people who do deserve to be in prison. But is there rehabilitation that's bettering the community? But if you see that there's somebody that's actually doing the work, that maybe was brought up in a system, in a community, in an environment that influenced these behaviors, influenced these circumstances intentionally to put them in prison for profit and without rehabilitation. And then when there are rehabilitation programs, those are taken out. What are we doing about that? Because that's not what's being talked about enough. Y'all keep it's we have to see beyond the surface. We have to see beyond what's being presented to us and understand that there's always some type of deeper agenda, game, tactic, moves, power moves that are behind something. And when you're not looking at the what's going on behind the scenes, you get too caught up and distracted by the BS that they want you to be distracted by. They want you to be distracted by the hearsay, this drama, this person, this happened with this person and this family and this TV show and this, the drama with this. They said this about who's profiting off of that? Who's getting the money off of that drama? And have they done anything to try to fix that drama? Why don't y'all be talking about that? Y'all should talk about that. Y'all should talk about fixing the drama. Y'all should be talking about, okay, and especially if what's happening at the surface level, the people at the surface level actually want to do the work. Like I said, that main goal, like what is the goal in our society, in our community? Are we just complacent with profiting off these problems? Or do you actually care about the next generation and want to do the work to provide a better society for us all? Or are you working alongside people? Are you complacent with people who benefit off this system? Because this system needs to be dismantled. And not enough people are talking about that. That's what y'all need to be talking about. Look beyond the surface. Y'all not even, yes, I love to make a chess analogy, but y'all not even thinking like pawns. Because let's be real. I know people like to shit on pawns. I've said this before. People like to go in on pawns like, oh, you're being moved. You're being treated like a pawn. You're a pawn in somebody's game. And some of y'all are a pawn in somebody's game. And then you just might be a rook. So you think you got a little bit more move, but you still a piece that somebody else is moving. Somebody else is telling you what to do. Somebody's telling you to move somebody else. So you feel like you got a little bit of authority because you got the power to move somebody or to point the finger or whatever the case may be. But who's moving you? Who are you taking orders from? Who's your boss? But here's the thing, some of y'all not even playing chess. It's not even checkers. But some of y'all are on the checkerboard. But here's the thing though. Even if you a pawn in somebody's game, a pawn could be promoted to a queen. And here's the thing. If I say something that you know I'm going to say, then that's double confirmation for you. Either way, y'all be getting caught up in the trivial things that continuously keep being brought up every quarter, but y'all not bringing up the real solutions to the bigger problems because the bigger problems are profiting off of us going back and forth with each other. So unless y'all want to talk about solutions, don't talk to me. If y'all want to keep perpetuating violence against one another that other people are getting rich off of, don't say nothing. But if y'all want to actually address the real problems and really question these systems and these power structures and who's benefiting off of the dysfunction that we keep perpetuating in our own families and communities and are forced to live in a society of lies where we uphold the lies and then try to scapegoat the people that's trying to tell the truth and actually do the work and actually trying to help one another. There's this wonderful quote that I saw online as a voice or audio from a Joe Rogan interview with Kanye. And he asked him, he's like, why do Joe Rogan asked Kanye, why do people think you're crazy? And Kanye says, because I tell the truth. And the truth sounds crazy in a world of lies. And it does. It does sound crazy in a world of lies. But why are y'all upholding the lies? And you know what's crazy? People will even try to give you talking points and influence what you have to say. But these are still bots that are upholding the lies. Now, it's just a matter of what y'all want to do. Do y'all want to keep upholding these lies and pulling strings and pressing buttons and all of that? But who installed the buttons? Why are the buttons there to be pressed? Who's asking those questions? And how did they know to install those buttons? Who did you install those buttons in previously before you knew it was going to work this time? And why are you teaching people to press these buttons and pull these strings? And if people are teaching you how to push the buttons and pull the strings, why would you lower yourself and your dignity to be complacent playing those games? Unless pressing those buttons benefits you too. And again, the goals are different. And y'all care about dysfunction. And y'all don't care about healing. Y'all don't care about getting to the truth or the root of the problem. Y'all don't care about actually fighting for the right things. Y'all just like to fight. Y'all just like to press buttons. Y'all just like to pull strings. Y'all just like to move chess pieces. Y'all don't care about the shit y'all think y'all say y'all care about. Because if y'all did, y'all wouldn't be so hell bent on trying to take out and unalive and do all these things to the people that actually care about doing the work. Y'all wouldn't be so concerned with creating rage bait scenarios and situations and dramas for capital gain. If y'all really cared about the community and the culture and this and that, why do you participate in things that fuels your success, long as it be the dysfunction of other families? And then you have people in these systems perpetuating the dysfunction in their own families. But then want to criticize how these conversations are brought up. I was venting to myself, no microwave, about why I feel like there's a misunderstanding in terms of communication. Although I try to talk about the things that other people aren't talking enough about and speaking truth that people are too scared to say, even in code, you know, and at the same time, like, yes, I am a person of comedic relief. I feel like comedy is a healing space. The thing is, back to that quote, when you're a truth teller in a world of lies, people make you out to be crazy and they try to block the truth. But the truth makes people uncomfortable because it's what needs to be heard. But why are you upholding the lie? And the thing is, when the person is telling the truth in a world of lies, and then you're upset about what they have to say, but why aren't y'all upset about the fact that we're perpetuating a society of liars? If you don't like something, say that you don't like it. Don't act like you like something if you don't like something. Why are we forcing people, generations, to be deceitful? If you're uncomfortable by something, say that. If you don't like something, say that. The point that I'm trying to make is that in this world of lying and liars, if there's a serious issue that's happening in that world of lies, and then you have one person that's believing the facade that doesn't know how serious things are, you have to understand that their reaction isn't going to be the same of everybody else that's perpetuating the lies. Now, I'm not saying they're not entitled to their feelings and their experiences. However, if you have one person that doesn't know that that's the experiences and the seriousness and the severity of the issues at hand, because they're living in this facade of a reality where people are acting like everything is cool and everything is fine and everything is happy and there's no issues in our families and our societies and our communities. And then when they express their stories and tell their side, which has been intentionally silenced and withheld from society, but they tell their story in a way that doesn't vibrate on the seriousness of what's going on, because they're going off their perspective that was based in a society of lies. You're judging someone's reaction based on their experience. Yes, in my own personal life, I joke through a lot of the BS that be happening, because if I was so serious all the time, I would be depressed. And I don't have the time to be depressed for you people. I've said that in a TikTok post. I'll say it again. But I'm going to tell my truth though. And I'm going to express myself, because especially the frustrating thing for me was being in spaces where I'm trying to show up and do the work, because my goal is to enter this space with the intention of being my best self and showing up and being considerate of other people and making people feel comfortable and safe and feel good to be themselves, which I feel I've done in my life and have even fought and defended when I felt like that wasn't being offered for other people, but whatever. My point is, you have to understand that, you know, to someone, like, for example, if you grew up in this world where you're in a circus and everybody that's participating in the circus is intending for the circus to feel like a comedy to one person, but it's actually a horror movie. But they don't know that it's a horror movie because it's in the symbolism, it's in the numbers, it's in the this and the that, it's in the background colors. But this one person is raised to believe that this is a comedy, that this is uh, you know, a family movie. When they don't react like it's a horror, y'all need to take into consideration that they were raised to believe that it was a comedy, a rom-com. Interesting. But here's the thing. Stop upholding the lie. Let me say that again. Stop upholding the lie and being frustrated by the people that are, one, trying to do the work to get to the truth, and three, doing the work to elevate. Because at this point, it just appears that y'all don't actually care about the things that y'all say y'all care about. The morals that y'all act like y'all stand for ain't really moral in like it's supposed to. Because again, y'all are perpetuating knowingly. Now, if you're unknowingly doing this, then I understand. But if you are knowingly upholding these racist and demonic systematic things that perpetuate dysfunction in families, because it that low frequency, that low vibrational energy, that frequency fuels the prosperity of these demonic spaces. Don't be fooled by the, oh, we're fighting for the cause. Let's attack and use these, press these buttons and inflict this pain on someone that's actually trying to do the work. But you're playing into these demonic tactics. That's all. Much love to y'all. Have a good